Great. So, and just to let you guys know, and Ruben and Kelly will know this because it's my last time, but I'm using a similar theme throughout my three principles of thinking about your dream player. So I'm going to use that same thread. So hypothetically, you will have already thought about your dream player, so just keep that in mind as we go along.
All right, great.
Great. All right, thank you so much for having me here today. I took a PCA workshop in the fall when I was coaching middle school sports with Denver Public Schools and was just really excited about the work that this group is already doing, because this is the kind of way of coaching that I like to live by, and it's also what has empowered me as a player growing up and through college. So I'm really excited to be here today. I come as a coach of tennis, soccer, and cross country, coaching ages 3 to 85, and I'm also a middle school teacher. So I've just found that these PCA principles impact the teams that I've coached as well as the students that I teach on a daily basis, and have just made them more successful people and players and students. So I'm excited to be here today to engage in conversation about these principles from Positive Coaching Alliance. So we are going to be looking at our final principle for the evening. And I want you to think back on that dream player. And on the projector, you will see a picture. And this picture really explains and captures our last principle. I'm sure that a lot of you guys recognize this picture, and we are going to watch a video about that. Do you want me to play the video?
No, that's okay. We've seen this.
Okay. So after seeing that video, and some of you may also have some background knowledge about this, why do you think that this story has gained so much national attention?
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's just a really emotional story, and it's about something that not every athlete would choose to do.
What specifically did she do that not every athlete would choose to do?
Help out her opponent without being told to.
Yeah. Anything else?
I mean, in a competitive situation, she was certainly able to see the larger picture and how sport fits into life and the fairness of it. She really wanted this player who earned the home run to have that experience and to get it to count.
Great. So you guys mentioned a few things that are part of our last principle. You mentioned opponents, you mentioned fair and equal and doing the right thing. And that's all part of ROOTS, which is an acronym that stands for 5 different things that are important for us to keep in mind and respect as we compete as coaches and help our players. So you guys have Post-its in front of you, and as we go through this acronym, I want you thinking about an example that that you have done to respect this part of ROOTS, or that your dream player has done to respect this part of ROOTS. So as you guys can see on the board, the first R is rules. Rules, without rules, we wouldn't have a game, and it's important to respect these rules and not to bend them for certain situations. So take a second and on your Post-it, jot down one way that you as a coach or your dream player has respected rules. All right, we're going to move on to O. So the first O stands for opponents, which is something that Kelly has already mentioned with the Mallory moment. So how many of us like to have a worthy opponent? Yeah, why? Becca, why do you enjoy having a worthy opponent?
Because I think it brings more out of the competition than the game. It gives you that individual challenge, opportunity to learn and grow. The game is fun, but I think the part that's ultimately satisfying is the competition and how you approach it and your success throughout it, which could also be defeat, but definitely the opportunity to be challenged and grow.
Great, great. And we couldn't challenge and grow without our opponents. We couldn't have competition without our opponents. So it is important to honor the game by respecting our opponents. So on another post-it, write down one way that you have respected opponents or your dream player has. The next O is officials. So take a second to visualize what a game would look like without officials. Yeah, I see it on Kelly's face. Kelly, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, we had a game last year where the officials didn't show up, and none of us knew what to do because none of us wanted to jump in and be the official. So it was kind of chaos for a little bit, trying to figure out, do you play the game? Do you not play the game? Do you have a parent step in? Do one of the coaches step in? And this was only, 5th and 6th graders, so I can't even imagine if it was a higher stakes game.
Yeah, great point. And you mentioned that a lot of people didn't want to step in, and we are having trouble holding on to officials who want to do the job because it is such a hard job. So it's important for us at PCA to respect the officials so that we are able to have competition. So write down one example of how you have respected officials or how your dream player has. All right, the T stands for teammates. We've all been on a team, probably, that has not been the most productive team, whether it be a professional working team or whether it be a sports-related team. So if we're not respecting our teammates, we've all been there, like I said, it doesn't work, and we're not able to produce on the field, on the court, on whatever it may be. So I want you guys to be thinking about what we can do to make teammates a priority and respecting teammates. And while you're thinking about that, write down one example that your dream player has done to respect teammates or you have done. And then our last one is self. Important to live up to our own expectations and our own standards and hold those high for ourselves. So give an example of how you respect yourself or how your dream player respects his or herself. So as you guys can see from the examples that you have written, honoring the game is about being active and about being proactive as well and doing things rather than sitting back and being a good sport. And it's about being that positive, respectful person on the field rather than just making sure that you are not getting into trouble. So if we believe in honoring the game, then using roots and respecting roots is going to be important to us no matter what. So we're going to take a few minutes to learn from each other and what we've written down. So you'll see there's an R in that corner and an O and another O and a T and an S. And you guys are going to just take a walk and put your Post-its at each letter. So you'll put your R Post-it at the R, et cetera, et cetera. You don't need to have your name on it. Just go and put your Post-its, and then we'll gather back together. All right, if you guys can bring it back together in 3, 2, and 1. You can be standing, you could be sitting. Wherever you are, you guys are going to move and stand at the letter R, O, O, T, or S where you feel like you want the most growth from your team. Now, hopefully you guys are now at the place where you would like the most growth, the most support, the most ideas. And I want you guys to share with each other and read through the Post-its so that you guys can generate some new ideas or have some conversation about how you can improve this aspect of your coaching job. All right, can I have someone from the R circle tell me something that you have picked up? Rebecca?
Yeah, I have U13 boys, and the coach that had them before me was teaching them gamesmanship, which is a big thing in soccer. There's lots of diving and a little bit of showboating and all this stuff. And so some coaches have decided that that's a good thing to teach kids and young players. And so the boys, when the ball goes out of bounds, and I as a coach have to play a due ball in, they all think it's their job to lie and tell me whose ball it is, even if they know very well it's not. And so that's the culture that was set before I got there, and that's the one I'm trying to rewrite here and have some respect for the rules of the game. And we all know that they make it a better and more fair competition, and also a more satisfying one. So I'm trying to get them to understand that respecting the rules and still pursuing the victory without having to lie about certain things is actually more satisfying and something they'll learn to want to do.
Great, and your efforts are admirable. Sometimes the culture that came before you is hard to change. So yes, it sounds like you're doing great work within the R. Anyone from the first O, from opponents?
Yeah, I had that one. And the idea that we have is just when plays are over, whether we win the point or lose the point, that we turn our attention inward to our teammates, and so nothing through the net, nothing directed at the other team, and that will help us a lot. It'll help us show greater respect for our opponents, and I think it'll help us competitively because it'll keep our focus it'll keep our focus in a better place.
Great, thank you. The next O for officials.
I'll do officials. Our group just said, we weren't even thinking about it, but a lot of people said, it's a teachable moment. They teach their players to go over and shake the officials' hands. They have the official come over and introduce themselves to the team to make it more of like a human connection. So we just thought that was a really good idea to share.
Great, thanks. Teammates.
Yeah, I had teammates, and in soccer, again, it's a 90-minute game, and you're hoping for one goal, and so you really can't get anywhere without your teammates, the 11 players all fighting for just one goal and keep the one ball out of our goal. So you can see that affected both positively and negatively when something happens. The players get frustrated with each other since their success is so highly linked to each other's performances. So my goal was to sort of have them pick each other up more, be more aware of how the team overall is feeling, and pay attention to your teammates and lift them up in difficult moments.
Great. I love the connection between the emotional tank and teammates. Awesome. And what about self?
Well, I'll talk about that one. I don't know if this fits or not, but one of the coaches, as the players are arriving to the gym, he always sweeps the gym, so that they have a nice, clean gym floor to play on, and doesn't ask one of the players to do it. The coach does it, and kind of sets an example for serving the team, even though he could easily just assign it to somebody else.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Setting kind of standards high for you as a coach, and also helping your players do that for themselves. Great. So this is all about our culture and the way we do things here. So you guys all kind of touched upon it's the way our teammates do it. It's the way we respect the officials. So this all ties into the greater culture of our team. Sometimes it can be hard to honor the game. There could be a call that you disagree with. There can be opponents who are being disrespectful to your players, and it can just be challenging. So if you pull out your books on page 46, there are some tools that we can use, and the one that I'm going to highlight today is the self-control routine. So how many of us here have had to use some sort of a self-control routine in a game, in a heated moment, in practice? Anyone? Yeah. And Ruben, what is your self-control routine or something that you've used in the past?
What I've done to distract myself is walk down to the end of the bench and get a cup of water, whether I'm thirsty or not, take a sip, and then walk back to my coaching position.
Great. Absolutely. Anyone else with a different tool?
I usually like to take a really deep breath.
Great.
That stops words from coming out of my mouth if I'm breathing in instead of out.
Great, great. And it's the same that we talk to our players about with having a mistake ritual, and it's just some sort of a ritual and routine for us to come back to when we need to remind ourselves to keep honoring the game at the forefront of our mind. Great. So I want you guys to be thinking about your Mallory moment. And this may have to do with your dream player, and it may not. And just take 10 seconds to think about that and visualize and, remember back to what that felt like. And I'm going to read a message from our PCA founder and executive director, Jim Thompson. If you coach long enough, you will find yourself faced with your own big Mallory moment opportunity, maybe even more than once. But for sure, coaching provides a never-ending sequence of smaller Mallory moment opportunities. My challenge to you is, by your actions time and again, in those moments, to elevate the game the way Mallory Holtman did. And I know that we all want to be that person that can have that Mallory on our team, because they have, the way we do things here is just simply by honoring the game. So to review, do you want me to go into the end?
Either way, you have 3 minutes left, so if you want to keep going, you can, or you can.
I'll share what I would do on this next slide.
Okay.
So as you guys can see on this slide are our 3 principles that we have gone over for today. And I would like for you guys to jot down on, it can be in your book, anything that you are going to take home with you. Write down one thing for each principle that you can take and use immediately. Someone want to share theirs takeaway for Elm?
Mistake ritual.
Great, mistake ritual. How about filling the emotional tank?
The magic ratio.
Awesome. Honoring the game.
I've got down respect for self.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
Nice job.
Nice job.
With 2 minutes to spare. It's really great, Laura. We've watched people do this a million times, and usually when somebody can get through that much information with time to spare, my first critique of them is you need to get the audience more involved. You need to be more interactive, because usually when somebody just blows through and lectures, that's when they have all this time left over at the end. But you actually got through your intro, the intro to the concept or the principle, and we did the activity with the sticky notes, and you had us actually share. Like even on the Hangout, you said, each of you share, and you still had, that was in 14 minutes that you did all of that.
Is that a problem?
No, that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I feel like with transitions, I'm assuming it will take, I was trying to keep it under 20, because with people moving, I figure it will take a little bit longer, but.
Well, one of the
reasons that we play the video either.
What'd you say?
The video, we never played the video either, which would take longer too.
That's like a 2-minute clip. Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm saying is I think you put in a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing that you're able to do that, because in a workshop it will stretch out, and you are going to spend more time. So if you can do that amount of things in 14 minutes, that's awesome. It probably will take you the full 20, and you would have done the intro in the beginning of the workshop, so you wouldn't have this at the end. But that's one of the reasons that, people have said before, like, oh, I hate that you timed me for 20 minutes. But it's important that you know kind of how long 20 minutes is. Because if you don't have a time limit, when you get to a workshop, you might go on and talk about Elm Tree for 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden Ethan and Leonard in the game come, and you're like, shoot, I didn't even get through it. So that's why we kind of keep the time. I was very impressed. I thought your pacing was very good. But I'm gonna let Becca give you some feedback first. Becca, what did you think of Laura? What did you like? What would you like?
I really liked it. I like your energy, and your voice is very clear. You're obviously very comfortable delivering, valuable material to people with sort of that idea, like, hey, here's what I've got to say, and it's important. And that comes across in your delivery. And just your comfortability, it's very engaging, and it's sort of step by step, and it takes you along through all the material. So I was really impressed with that.
All right. Ruben, did you want to start?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I have a question. So the sticky note activity, when we went and we put up our sticky notes, and then we went to the area that we think our team could improve the most. The sticky notes, we're referring to the sticky notes that get posted up there for ideas.
Yeah, the idea would be that like I feel like I need the most work in R. I would go and I would be able to read a bunch of Post-its and talk with people and generate more ideas, or just use the ideas on the Post-it. I would be fine with either.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I love it. I love it. I love the fact that you engaged us by having us write down our ideas earlier, and then I loved it. I do think I'm wondering. I can imagine on some sticky notes somebody writes something, and I don't get what they mean. Which probably no big deal, because there's going to be a lot of sticky notes up there if everyone's putting, so. I was just wondering, like, if somebody saw an idea and they didn't quite understand, if there's a way to give them the opportunity to have it explained to them, that might be difficult.
Just to piggyback, I have something about the sticky note activity too. I think it's awesome. I think it was a great activity. It used all the intelligences. You had them writing, you had them thinking, you had them moving, you had them discussing, you had them, coming up with one thing. It was hard, and I did it. I have my 5 sticky notes here, and as I like to do it as I go through it, because I knew what was coming, but having to think of 5 things was hard to do, and you didn't give us a lot of time to do it. So if you do it in a real workshop, I think this would be ideal for a group of about 20 coaches. I think if you get a group of coaches more than 20, this would be a really big time-consuming activity, because each person would have to do it, and then each person would have to go around to 5 different places in the room. If you had like 30 coaches doing this, and then they'd have to get into a group, and the groups would probably be about 6 or 7 people. Some groups might have 10, some groups might have 2. So just from my point of view, from running these workshops, I think it's a great thing to do with like under 20 coaches. But maybe give them an out, like, maybe only give them 3 sticky notes.
Okay.
And then go through.
Yeah, Kelly, I was thinking the same thing, because I like the idea so much that just because I have more than 20 coaches, I don't want to have to not do it, which is what you're thinking. And I was thinking maybe even just one, where either they can write one idea for any of the 5, and then so they're only placing 1 sticky, or that Laura divides the group and says, okay, you guys, I want you to write an idea for how you would teach honoring the game, respect for rules. And you guys are doing opponents. You guys are doing officials. So it could be assigned also.
That's what I liked about it, because she didn't have us write on the sticky note how we would teach it, and she didn't have us write on the sticky note what was challenging about it. She had us write on the sticky note, when have you seen your dream player or yourself?
Yeah.
Because most of the questions that we've gotten from this one have been, what area challenges you the most, or which one do you struggle with? And you actually had us think about a positive. I mean, where have you seen this happen well? So the sticky note papers on the board are all positive ideas. I mean, it's like a great resource. Like, here it is, all these great ideas. So I like that, because it's not like you're challenged or you're saying this is a problem. You're focusing on the solution, and you're using the ideas of the people in the room. So I do think it's a great idea. I'm just saying, personally, from a participant point of view, it was hard to think of 5 separate things. So I might be leaving some blank. So maybe if you say, we're going to go through each of these 5 areas, pick 3, and maybe like after you explain it, say, write down 3, or as I'm going through, if you have one that you really think would, you have a great idea, you have an idea for, or something that's worked for you, just rather than 5. That was my only suggestion. Go ahead.
And Actually, I'm realizing that because you're writing down something that you did or that your dream player did, it probably would be more self-explanatory. It's less likely that I would go up there and see something and not understand what it was.
Okay.
So go ahead, Ruben. You can finish up.
That's it. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought.
All right. The only other thing that I had to add to it, I think I love the dream player idea. I think that's fantastic. Again, it frames everything in a very positive light, which I like. I like to say, like, here's the end. Here's the end. You want a dream player. Here's the process on how to get you there. I like that a lot better than pointing out the negatives. I think it's good. I thought you did a nice job at taking our responses and quick thinking on it. Like when Becca was talking about gamesmanship, you worked that into your explanation, and I think that's a sign of a really good facilitator. And I also like the way, at the end you review. You are very clear. The only thing that I would love to see you try more of is to get slightly out of teacher mode and more into conversational mode. Okay. Just your voice is very clear, and it is, the cadence of your voice is very teacher-like, and I'm sure for your middle schoolers, they understand you so clearly. But I think if you showed a little bit more of your personality than teacher mode, I think it would really help the audience connect a little bit better. Because I know, it's sometimes as soon as you kind of like, I'm home, if you were just sitting around with a bunch of your friends and you were just talking about PCA, you wouldn't be talking like a teacher would. You would just be kind of sharing with them. So I think that would just be helpful to you, not through the whole thing, but every once in a while, just throw in a little bit of a switch up in your voice or your tone or something, just to kind of come out of that teacher mode and more into like, we're all in this together. We're all at a workshop. Let's, you guys can help me. And I say that at workshops. I learned so much from the audience. You guys are going to help me become a better coach today. And I really need your help. So kind of like, we're all in this together. That's just one suggestion that I have. But I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Miss Becca.
I was also planning to do. Oh, there's a bit of an echo on the line. Is anyone else hearing that, or is that just me? Oh, it's not so bad anymore. Okay, I was also going to do honoring the game. That's the third principle that I haven't done yet. Is that okay to follow up with the same thing?
Fine. Yep, no problem.
Okay. So I'll go back to the beginning, and I'm trying to click through the slides as I go just to help me with the tempo and everything. But so I'll pretend like I was introduced and say thank you for having me here. I'm really honored to be here and to bring to you guys the Positive Coaching Alliance's Double Goal Coach workshop. And one thing I'd like to point out as right from the beginning is that it is a workshop, and we choose that word on purpose because I'm not here to lecture. And as you can see, we have a full room of experienced, qualified coaches, and probably our most valuable resource here is this community of coaches in here who are here to be better coaches and learn about the Positive Coaching Alliance's mission to create better athletes and better people. So thank you again for having me here. I'll skip ahead. Okay. Does anyone recognize this picture? Anyone know anything about it?
Yeah.
Can you share with us? Do you know who this is? Anything about the story?
I don't know who it is. This is the softball photo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I don't know who it is, but what I know is that the player that's getting carried, she actually had hit the ball over the fence, but when she was going around the bases, got hurt, and the other team ended up helping her complete her home run.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm going to play a video here to fill out the story a little bit, so everyone can hear some more. So what do you guys think about that?
It's a great story.
Cool.
Yeah, super emotional. Well, anything stand out about the story? Anything pretty impressive about either of the two players in it?
I think it's just impressive that these girls took it upon themselves to make the right decision and do this for an opponent. That was obviously a high-stakes game. It was a championship game, and they did it. Those Oregon girls, how they are.
Yeah, great people out here in Oregon. But that brings us to Principle 3, honoring the game. and you could see this image of a tree and roots. There's big ROOTS at the bottom, and we're going to go through the meaning of these three letters. So can anyone tell me, there's a picture up here to help, but what does the R stand for?
Respect.
That's a good one. Yeah, and it's a critical word for the entire slide here is respect, and these are 5 components that we are trying to show respect for. And so the first R actually does stand for rules. Anyone have any idea why the rules might be important to respect?
Make it fair, otherwise you got a bunch of cheaters out there.
Sure, absolutely. Create a fair competition. I think we all would prefer to play in a fair competition than one that's stacked in any direction. Anything else?
Keep it safe.
Safe, absolutely, to protect our players and the other players on the field. And that brings us maybe to the next O. Does anyone know what the O stands for?
Opponents.
Yeah, absolutely. Why is it important to respect our opponents?
Because
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Laura.
okay, we need them in order to play the game, or else we don't have anyone to beat.
Yeah, and at PCA, that's exactly what we say. We say the opponent is actually a gift. We should be grateful for the opponent. There's no game without the opponent. Anything else?
I think we're considered bad sports if we're disrespecting our opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no game without the opponent, and there's no real challenge without the opponent. Or where the opponent is something that we're lucky to have. And so PCA, we think it's very important to respect our opponents. And then going on to the next O, anybody have any guess at what that stands for?
Officials.
Yeah, absolutely. Has anyone in the room officiated before? Has anyone given it a try? No. Okay. Well, it's a pretty difficult job, right? You've got two parties are competing against each other, and there's two sides to every coin. So there's probably no right answer to everything, every dispute. But officials are human, so they make mistakes, and without them, we don't have a safe, fair game, and we don't have anyone to basically hold up the rules. And can imagine a game without an official would not be quite as fun to compete in. That brings us to the T. Anyone have any idea what the T stands for?
Team.
Yeah, teammates. Anybody have anything they'd like to share with us about honoring your teammates, and why is that important? What does it mean to honor your teammates?
To get along with them?
Yeah, getting along with them, sure.
To support them even when they don't make the right play.
Absolutely, supporting them.
Just to treat them well on and off the field, not just during the game, but afterwards as well.
Yeah, not recognizing that as being part of a team, that your behavior is representative of the group as a whole, and so honoring your team your teammates is really keeping in mind that you're part of a team, and your behavior represents everyone involved. And that sort of brings us to the end here with the S. Anyone know what that stands for?
Self?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely, yourself. And at PCA, we think that this is probably the most important thing, and it's linked back to the other 4 things. But this means living up to your own standards, even when those around you don't. It's not always going to be easy, but we believe in honoring the game and showing respect for the roots no matter what, and through that honoring yourself as well. And at PCA, we call this the importance of culture creation, and culture equals the way we do things here. And with that, I'd like you just to take a look at your Double Goal Coaching book that's out in front of you. And we discussed earlier that this is, a resource for you to take home and reach back for when you need some help. All of us in this room have coached long enough to know that it's not always easy to live up to our expectations and honor the game and to follow, our best example. But this resource here is one that you can always reach back to. And on page 46, we have the Honor the Game Toolkit, where you self-control routine. And that's just another tool to reach back into when you have a difficult time. Does anyone in the room have a self-control routine that they've used in the past, something that helps them?
I breathe really deeply.
Yeah, that's a good one. Why does that help?
I think there's like some scientific reason that it helps, but it just really mostly just makes me take a few seconds before impulsively reacting.
Yeah, deep breathing is supposed to help with relaxation. I think that's proven, yeah. And what else does it do?
Well, like I said, it gives me some buffer time to before I respond. Um, yeah.
That's true. Yeah, those 1, 2, 3 seconds might be the difference between saying something before you've had a chance to think about it and then having a moment to reflect on the bigger picture. So I think that's perfect. Anybody else have anything they do?
I usually take a long drink of water. I usually have a water bottle with me.
Yeah, again, and that gives you a little bit of time to reflect and give yourself a chance to respond the way you'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'd like to talk for a second about your Mallory moment, and I'd like to read you a quote from our founder. And let's see. If you coach long enough, you will find yourself faced with your own big Mallory moment opportunity, maybe even more than once. But for sure, coaching provides a never-ending sequence of smaller Mallory moment opportunities. My challenge to you is, by your actions, time and again, in those moments, to elevate the game the way Mallory Holtman did. And that's the last of our third principles. And just to recap here, the Tree of Mastery, filling the emotional tank, and honoring the game. And when the book of your life is written, will it say that you made a difference? Oh, there was a video before this. Okay. I guess that's pretty much the end.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You want to stop there, Becca?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. This is always my doozy section. It never flows. I've told Ruben this a couple times. It gets me every time.
Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
you know, the good thing is that you're sticking with it and you keep practicing it. I am a little confused about it, Becca, because I do feel that when you practiced Elm, did you do Elm twice? You did Elm with me, and then you did it last week. Did you do Elm?
Last week
No. You did E-Tank. You did E-Tank, and then last time you did Elm, didn't you?
Yes.
And I agree with you. I thought you were more dynamic and more fluid and more comfortable both of those times. So we'll see what feedback you get today and see if we can figure out a way to make roots and honoring the game as comfortable for you as those other two sections.
Great.
Laura, did you want to start?
Yeah, I just actually was writing down a few things that you said that I just thought helped me in framing it. I liked how you said with the officials part, there's always two sides to a coin, and that, helped like remind me that the idea that an official's job is hard. And when we were talking about the self-control routine, I appreciated how you talked about the why, and you pushed me to really get to like why I breathe deeply, and not just like we have self-control routines, but why do we have them and why do they help? So I thought that was helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mentioned that also. I wrote that down also. I think it's good when you can ask a lot of questions to the audience, but it's even better when you call them out, because a lot of times people will just give you the answer you want to hear. And I've said that a lot to people when they give me an answer to something and they're like, oh, and they start, dozing on, looking somewhere else. I'm like, but why is that? And they're like, whoa, like when you challenge somebody and you ask them for deeper clarification for their answer, and how would you use that? Or, it really keeps people more on their toes. So I thought that was really good the way you did that. I could tell, just again, as Ruben said, you seemed a little bit more stiff with this one. The one thing you have to remember with this principle is that it's at the end of the workshop. So you already have a rapport with the audience. It's almost hard that you're jumping into this right now, just jumping to this one right away. But by the time you get to honoring the game, you've already been with them for almost an hour. So you've got them, it follows E-Tank, and E-Tank's one of those principles where you can have fun. You're getting them up, they're filling tanks, they're draining tanks, they're playing around, they know what it's like, so they're kind of like, whew, okay. Now we're going into the home stretch, and there's no better way to kill a workshop than when your energy level goes down for this last principle. So I often encourage trainers to up their energy level, because sometimes with honoring the game, you just think, okay, it's just kind of like, here's R, here's O, here's T, here's S. So I'm not saying you have to do something as intricately engaging as what Laura pulled off, but I think there's got to be a way to take this principle and make it personal. And one of the greatest ways, I think, to connect this principle is through storytelling, because a lot of people have experiences either in their own lives as an athlete or as a coach, excuse me, or you yourself. I mean, you're a high-level player. So I think to hear something from somebody that's played at the highest level that you've played at, and hear how honoring the game is even an issue at the elite level of soccer as much as it is with the 6-year-old level, especially all the different teams that you've coached and been on. I would love to hear that from you, because that's how it could really hit home with me. So my biggest suggestion would be, I think your conversation is great. You ask good questions. You challenge us. You were smiling in and out. One of the last other comments I gave last time I looked back was, smile more, have fun, look like you're enjoying yourself. So when you were just talking to us, person to person, you were smiling. You were animated. You were asking questions. You could just tell by your expression. And then you went back to the slideshow where it was, this is rules, this is opponents. You became more like stoic. So I'd love to see that content, which you know so well. I would like to see that content brought a little bit more to life, just as if you were having a conversation with us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think that would be more fun for me too. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you're not having fun, the audience is not having fun at all. Yeah. And especially after hearing all this great stuff, you don't want to leave them with honoring the game like, all right, now we're ready to fall asleep. Because it is at the end. So it is something that, and it takes creativity, but it also takes energy. And sometimes, you're tired by the time you get to this principle sometimes as a trainer. And I really have to, psych myself up. Okay, fourth quarter, you can't slack off in the fourth quarter. You got to bring it on. So let's go. I psych myself up sometimes. All right, we're honoring the game. Let's go. This is important. So, whatever you need to do to just make it fun for yourself in whatever way you can do that. That would be my best suggestion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Kelly, I'll pick it up from there. Just to add, Becca, to a couple of possibilities for how you could approach roots and experiment with roots and see, because eventually I think you'll settle on something that works for you, and brings out your best as a trainer. So two ideas. One is, once you get to roots itself, don't look at your computer. Don't look at the notes. You know what roots is. You know what it is. R-O. You're not going to get lost. I don't think, Becca. Right? You know it's rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self. And so for that piece, it ties in with what Kelly said. You just have a conversation, and so I think that's one approach. Is at least for that piece. Forget the notes, forget your computer. Another possibility is that when you get to roots, you do a really quick, so honoring the game gets to the roots of positive competition. So we've got another acronym for you, roots. And what is roots about? It's about respect for 5 key areas. Respect for rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self. How do you show respect for yourself? By living up to your own standards even when others don't. Okay, so you've let them know what roots is. You haven't given them examples, you haven't given them detail, but a lot of the coaches, that they can fill in the blanks themselves, a lot of them, not all, but, and so then what that would allow you to do, Becca, I'm still on option number 2, that would allow you then to just go into an exercise. Okay, when I say go, those of you, I want you to think of which of these for you personally is the biggest challenge. Okay, because you've seen other trainers do that. You've probably seen Kelly do that. It'll allow you to get to that exercise quickly. And so which is the biggest challenge for you? If it's rules, you're meeting over here, opponents, and then you give them time to discuss, and you have the group report out, and then you can interject and add to their comments as you see fit, including maybe at least one time in that conversation, you do what the other thing Kelly said, which is a personal example of how you personally, as an athlete, a professional athlete, showed respect for rules, or one of your teammates. You know, that's magic that you have, Becca, that the rest of us don't. We weren't professional athletes. We did not play at the highest level like you did. I don't think Kelly and Laura were quite there, and I know I definitely wasn't. So absolutely tap into that. But anyway, a lot of talking. To summarize, two possible ways to approach it. Okay, one is that you just decide for roots. I'm not worried about the script or notes. Okay, that's one way to approach it. The other way to approach it is just a real quick overview of roots, and then get immediately into that interactive exercise. Does that make sense, Becca? Do you know what I mean when I say the interactive exercise? Have you seen others do it and model it?
Yeah, from the scenarios and stuff, or anything you want to do.
Well,
just for this,
where you
just for the roots activity, there's a lot of different options you can do. So I mean, like Becca.
And the one I was talking about.
Go ahead.
The one I was talking about is where you have them think about which one for you as a coach is the biggest challenge for you personally. And then you have them, you send them off into groups where they can talk about that challenge, and then you have each group report out. Okay, those of you who went to respect for rules, why is that so challenging for you? You know, and they go, well, because the rules are always changing, or because whatever they say, you know, and so it allows them to talk to each other. It takes pressure off you, quite honestly, because you're allowing them to talk to each other, and they're reporting out.
And I think there's so many different ideas, and there's so many different ways you can take this from different perspectives. Laura, for example, took a positive spin on it. Where is the time you've seen a player or you yourself have really respected this area? Or so instead of saying which one's your biggest challenge, you could say which one is just, you know, when your players are done being on your team, they better be respectful of their whatever, of the rules, or they better respect their opponents, or, you know, all of us as coaches have their bee in their bonnet that makes you like, oh, no. Like, even if you don't know all the roots, like, if I ever see a player being disrespectful of an opponent or disrespectful of a teammate, they're yanked on my team. That's just Coach Kelly. That's how I do it. So, you know, that's a way to look at it. The other thing is, too, it's respect. You're teaching respect to the team, but you as a coach also have to model this. So there's two different perspectives there. Which one do you as a coach are you challenged by? And then which one is your team challenged by? Another activity that I've seen be done really effectively is after the video. Show the Mallory moment video and assign people, okay, you five over here, I want you to tell me where you saw respect for rules demonstrated in that Mallory video. This group over here, where did you see respect for officials? Where did you see respect for opponents? Tell me where you saw respect for teammates, and tell me where you saw self-respect. So they actually just used the video and didn't really have to get into too much explanation about this is what rules, opponents are fierce and friendly, you know, the whole like yada, 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 because they've used the video as a tool to explain each of those 5 areas. So the sky's the limit. I think I like what Ruben said. You have to find out what works for Becca, because we don't want you to be exactly like anyone else. And that's why it's kind of hard in this course, because I try to give you guys a lot of different ideas, but some of them are just ideas that I do. And sometimes, you know, there's things Ruben does that I can't pull off, and there's things that I do that he can't pull off. It's just not our personalities. So you have to find what works really well for your style and the way you can handle a group. So we're just giving you the options to be able to think outside the box and be creative for this one.
Yeah, I like the idea of using video, because I think it's very powerful, it's emotional, and I think it is a very clear example of each of the 5 elements of roots. So that's a good one, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, you guys both did a great job, and I'm just really impressed with how you did throughout the whole course. You guys just did a super job with the content, and I think, you know, just being able to hear you at the end and being able to hear you take ownership in that content, and you don't have to think about it, you're not tripping over words, like it's becoming the way that you speak, and that's the point of it, was that you've got the content inside and out. Now you can dress it up and make it interesting and make it fun and try some different things, but be flexible as well, because as we know, I mean, PCA trainers know pretty early on that there's no 2 workshops that are exactly alike. different room formation, different crowd, different people, different time of day. So you do have to remain flexible and have some tricks in your back pocket in case plan A doesn't work. You got to shift to plan B, and that's happened a few times, and sometimes even plan C. So that's something that we as athletes know. If the jump shot's not working, you got to go to the layup or whatever you need to do. So I think it's great. Our next step for you guys is to get you out into the live workshop, and I'm glad, Laura, you're going to get a chance to be live and do this in front of people on Friday in front of Ruben. I think that's great. The more times you can do that, the better. And I also, Becca, I want to talk to Ben Dudley because there's enough associate trainers and new trainers in Portland that I think even a just demo day for you guys would be fantastic too, to get you out there in front of live people. So, but we're going to hook you up with Sonia DeWitt, who's going to be contacting you about getting you out to a live workshop to present just one principle or two principles in a live workshop, and that way you can kind of get your feet wet and feel what it's like to feel the crowd and the responses from the crowd and how that goes, and then we'll touch base after that, and you can let me know how you felt, and I can let you know what the mentor trainer you were with, what they had to say about what you did, and we'll move you forward from there. So our goal is to get you certified and out doing this as soon as we can, but we don't want to make you run before you can walk. So we, baby steps, but we like to push you along too. So that's kind of where we are. Great. Do you guys have any questions for Ruben or I?
No.
I have a question for Laura.
Yeah.
Laura, when I come out on Friday, I'm not sure how much of a chunk of time we'll get for you to facilitate.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of as big a chunk as we can make work.
Yeah.
And so if we have the flexibility for you to start the workshop and just go for an hour and see how far you get,
Okay.
I'm all in favor of that.
Great.
And if we have more than if we have, there's you and Mike, and so we'll have to compare when do you need to be, when's your drop dead time to be out, when's Mike's, and then divide the time accordingly. But
Great.
I'm hopeful that we can make it a real big chunk of the workshop, if not most of the workshop, that you get to take us through.
Great.
So be prepared for as best you can for that in case we do indeed have that opportunity.
Great. And great, because Linda Trump, the executive director out in Colorado, she is a fantastic trainer. She was a trainer for years before she was the executive director, so she's a great person as a resource too.
Awesome.
To, ask her what she did in workshops. So that's awesome that you're going to get to be with her too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't wait. I'm
All
excited.
right.
Excited to be with
All right, guys. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Nice job, Becca.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Becca. Thank you, Laura. Nice
Thanks,
job, Coach
guys.
Kelly. Bye.
Bye.